Awakening of the Titan. The Kellerian survey vessel Astral Seeker drifted silently through the asteroid field at the edge of the Voraxis Nebula. Captain Mara Texan stood on the bridge, her four eyes scanning the sensor readouts with practiced efficiency. Her iridescent scales shifted from blue to a thoughtful purple as she considered the anomalous readings. Sensor Officer Krell, confirm that reading. Is it natural or artificial? She asked, her voice a melodic trill that carried across the bridge. Krell, a bulbous Granthi with multiple tentacle-like appendages, manipulated the controls with practiced precision. Confirmed artificial, Captain. Metallic composition, massive structure. It appears to be a derelict vessel of unknown origin, embedded in asteroid XV7293. Texan's head crest rose with excitement. Excellent. Navigation, bring us in closer. Security, prepare a boarding team. Science Officer Viss, I want preliminary scans of every inch of that vessel. The Astral Seeker approached the asteroid cautiously. As the dust and debris cleared from their view, the bridge crew collectively gasped. What they had initially detected as a small anomaly revealed itself to be an enormous vessel, at least 4 times the size of their own ship. Its dark hull was partially embedded in the asteroid, like a predator sleeping within its den. By the celestial waters, whispered Texan. That's no ordinary derelict. Science Officer Viss, a slender linthar with translucent skin, revealing the complex network of glowing veins beneath, worked furiously at her station. Captain, I'm detecting unusual alloy compositions. The vessel's hull contains elements we've never encountered in shipbuilding before. There are no energy signatures, but the structural integrity is remarkable. By all calculations, this vessel is at least 3,000 standard cycles old, yet shows minimal degradation. Any markings? Any indication of its origin? Texan asked. There are symbols on the hull, Viss replied, enhancing the visual feed. Not matching any known species in our database. Wait. Her 3-fingered hand paused over the controls. Captain, there's something familiar about these. They resemble ancient script from historical records. These might be human symbols. The bridge fell silent. Humans were the stuff of legend, a supposedly extinct species known only through fragmented historical records and often dismissively relegated to myth status. The Galactic Concordat's official position was that humans, if they ever existed at all, had vanished from the galaxy long before the rise of modern civilizations. Humans. Texan's scales shifted to an incredulous yellow. That's impossible. Check your readings again. The evidence suggests it, Captain, Viss insisted. And there's more. I'm detecting compartments within the vessel that maintain atmospheric pressure. This ship isn't completely dead. Texan made her decision. Prepare the boarding party. I want to see this myself. Within an hour, Texan led a team of 6 through the breach they'd created in the derelict's outer hull. The alien corridors were dark, illuminated only by the team's portable lights. The architecture was unlike anything they had encountered, functional yet elegant, with smooth curves blending into sharp angles. Despite the ship's apparent age, the interior showed remarkably little deterioration. The preservation is uncanny, muttered Security Chief Drav, a burly Keltaxi whose natural armor clinked softly as he moved, almost as if time stopped in here. They followed a path deeper into the vessel, guided by Viss's scans toward what appeared to be a central command center. The doors they encountered were sealed but yielded to their cutting tools with surprising difficulty. As they breached the final door into what was clearly the ship's bridge, their lights revealed rows of consoles covered in dust, view screens dark with age, and most shockingly, humanoid figures seated at various stations. Are those corpses? Whispered Krell, his eye stalks trembling. Viss approached one cautiously, scanning it with her instruments. No, they're in some form of suspended animation. These beings are alive. Texan approached the central figure, seated in what was obviously the command chair. The being was Bictal, with brownish skin and dark facial hair. Its body was encased in some form of uniform or armor, black with silver accents. Its eyes were closed, chest unmoving. "Is this a human?" Texan asked in wonder. "All evidence suggests so," Vis replied. "But I don't understand how." Before she could finish, the floor beneath them hummed to life. Lights flickered across the bridge, consoles activating one by one. The alien team froze in alarm as the ship around them awakened from its long slumber. A holographic display materialized in the center of the bridge, projecting the image of a human female with short hair and glowing blue eyes. "Proximity alert. Unknown biological entities detected. Initiating security protocols." The hologram announced in a language none of them understood, yet somehow all comprehended. "We come in peace," Texan exclaimed hastily. "We are explorers from the Galactic Concordat." The hologram paused, then responded, analyzing language patterns. "Adaptation complete. Galactic Concordat not recognized in database. State your species designations and intentions." "I am Captain Mira Texan of the Kelrian Exploration Fleet. We discovered your vessel embedded in an asteroid and came to investigate. We mean no harm." The hologram seemed to process this information. "I am Athena, Artificial Tactical Humanitarian Engine for Navigation and Assistance. This is the United Earth Defense Force vessel Titan's Hammer. You have triggered the revival protocol. Commander Rise will be awakened for first contact procedures." Before Texan could respond, the seated figure in the command chair shuddered. A faint hiss emanated from the chair as built-in medical systems activated. The beam's chest began to rise and fall with increasing regularity. Its eyes snapped open, a startling blue that contrasted with its brown skin. It blinked rapidly, focusing first on the hologram, then on the alien visitors. "Athena," the human spoke, voice hoarse from disuse. "Situation report. Commander, the Titan's Hammer has been dormant for approximately 3,142 standard Earth years. We have been discovered by a species identifying themselves as Kelrians from an organization called the Galactic Concordat. Full systems are coming online, and crew revival can be initiated at your command." The human commander, now identified as Reyes, slowly stood from the chair, legs unsteady, but quickly gaining strength. Texan was struck by how physically imposing humans were, taller than expected, with dense musculature evident even through their clothing. "I am Commander Elena Reyes of the United Earth Defense Force," the human announced, straightening to her full height. "And you have awakened the last warship of humanity." The next several hours were a flurry of activity. More humans were revived. Senior officers first, then essential crew members. The aliens observed with fascination as the humans moved with increasing confidence, their bodies adapting remarkably quickly to being awake after millennia of stasis. Texan's diplomatic training was put to the test as she explained the current state of the galaxy to Commander Reyes and her officers. The Galactic Concordat now spanned hundreds of star systems, comprised of 12 major species and dozens of minor ones. Humanity was considered a legend at best, mentioned occasionally in ancient texts, but generally dismissed as myth. "So we're bedtime stories now," remarked Commander Reyes with a wry smile that Texan couldn't quite interpret. "Fascinating how quickly the galaxy forgets." "If I may ask," Texan ventured, "what circumstances led to your ship being hidden away for so long?" Reyes exchanged glances with her officers before responding. "We were fleeing the end of everything we knew. Earth and her colonies had fallen to the Ravagers, a hive-mind species bent on consuming all in their path. The Titan's Hammer was one of 12 arcs carrying the best of humanity's military, scientists, and civilians. We were to regroup at designated coordinates, but we were attacked during our final jump. Must have been knocked off course." "These Ravagers," Drav asked, his warrior instincts piqued. "What became of them?" "Don't tell me they're still out there," added a human officer, tension evident in his voice. Texan's scales shifted to a reassuring blue. "There are no records of any species matching that description. If they existed, they're long gone now. Relief visibly washed over the humans, but it was short-lived as the ship's AI interrupted. "Commander, I've completed my diagnostics. The Titan's hammer is at 78% operational capacity. Weapons systems, shields, and primary drive are functional. However, the full drive requires significant repairs." Texan and her crew exchanged alarmed glances at the mention of weapons and shields. The casual reference to military capabilities far beyond current Concordat technology was unsettling. "Your vessel is still operational?" Texan asked carefully. "After all this time?" Commander Reyes smiled, a gesture that didn't quite reach her eyes. "The Titan's hammer was built to last, Captain. Humanity's final contribution to the galaxy was our best work." As if to emphasize her point, the lights throughout the ship brightened to full intensity. The deep hum of powerful engines reverberated through the hull as the massive warship began to disengage from the asteroid that had been its cradle for millennia. "What are you doing?" Texan asked, alarm coloring her voice. "Taking stock of our situation," Reyes replied calmly. "Don't worry, Captain. We have no quarrel with your Concordat. But 3,000 years is a long time to sleep, and we have a lot of catching up to do." As the Titan's hammer pulled free from the asteroid, its full majesty was revealed. Nearly 2 kilometers in length, its sleek, predatory design spoke of a civilization that had mastered the art of warfare. Weapon ports lined its hull, and massive engine nacelles glowed with power that had lain dormant for thousands of years. The message to the galaxy was clear. Humanity had returned, and they had brought their warships with them. Forging alliance. Word of the human warship spread through the Galactic Concordat like wildfire. Within days, diplomatic vessels from various member species converged near the Voraxis Nebula, each hoping to establish relations with the legendary humans. Meanwhile, military vessels maintained a respectful distance, monitoring the situation with nervous vigilance. Aboard the Titan's hammer, Commander Elena Reyes sat in a hastily arranged conference room with Captain Texan and representatives from 3 major Concordat species: a towering Keltaxi diplomat named Gorvin, a gelatinous Cillian consciousness housed in a mechanical shell who called itself Sphere, and a regal Ventari female introduced as High Arbiter Sela. "Let me understand your political structure," Reyes said, studying the aliens with keen interest. "The Concordat maintains peace through mutual trade agreements and a shared defense pact, but each species largely governs itself." "Precisely," confirmed High Arbiter Sela, her feathered crest rising with approval. "We intervene only when conflicts threaten multiple member worlds. It has maintained peace for over 5 centuries. Reyes nodded thoughtfully. "And humanity's absence from your historical records." The diplomats exchanged uncomfortable glances before Sphere's mechanical shell emitted a soft hum. "Records from the time before the Concordat are fragmented at best. There was a period our historians call the Great Darkness, a span of nearly 1,000 years when interstellar travel collapsed. When civilization reemerged, much was lost." "Convenient," muttered Lieutenant Commander Jackson, Reyes's second-in-command, just loudly enough to be heard. Before tensions could rise, Athena's holographic form appeared. "Commander, I've completed my analysis of the Concordat's technological database that Captain Texan provided. Their medical technology exceeds our own in cellular regeneration. Their communication systems are more efficient. However, their defensive systems, propulsion technology, and weapons capabilities are significantly inferior to our own, even by pre-Ravager standards." The alien diplomats shifted uncomfortably at this blunt assessment. Texan's scales darkened to a concerned purple. "Thank you for your candor, Athena," Reyes said diplomatically. "It seems we each have much to offer one another." "Indeed," agreed Sela, recovering quickly. "The Concordat welcomes peaceful exchange of knowledge and—" An alarm cut through the air, interrupting the diplomatic discussions. Athena's hologram flickered urgently. "Commander, we're detecting multiple vessels entering the system." Configuration unknown, but weapons signatures are active. They're not broadcasting Concordat identification codes. The conference room erupted in activity. Rise immediately stood, reverting to military posture. Athene, battle stations, bring all defensive systems online. Those aren't Concordat ships, Texan confirmed after checking her own communications device. Could they be other human vessels you were separated from? Negative, replied Athene. Design parameters do not match any UEDF vessels. They appear to be approaching in attack formation. Over the next few minutes, 12 sleek, predatory vessels emerged from the darkness of space. Their hulls were a deep obsidian that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Red energy signatures pulsed along their flanks like blood through veins. Vorlak raiders, hissed Gorvin, the Kel-Taxi diplomat. Pirates and slavers who prey on the edges of Concordat space. They must have intercepted communications about your ship and come to claim it. The nearest Concordat defense fleet is 3 days away, Texan added grimly. We should retreat and... No need, interrupted Reyes with surprising calm. The Titan's hammer was built to handle worse than pirates. She turned to her officers. Lieutenant Commander Jackson, escort our guests to the observation deck. They might find what happens next. Educational. As the diplomatic party was led away, Reyes returned to the bridge, now a hive of disciplined activity, as her crew prepared for combat. Humans moved with precision between stations, their training overcoming 3 millennia of sleep as if it had been mere days. The raiders are hailing us, reported Communications Officer Chen. Audio only. Let's hear it, Reyes commanded, settling into her chair. A guttural voice filled the bridge. Attention, unknown vessel. You have entered Vorlak territory. Surrender your ship and prepare to be boarded. Resistance will result in your destruction. Reyes smiled thinly. Open a channel. After receiving confirmation, she continued, This is Commander Elena Reyes of the United Earth Defense Force vessel Titan's Hammer. You are threatening a military vessel of humanity. Power down your weapons and withdraw immediately, or I will be forced to demonstrate why that would be unwise. Laughter echoed back. Humanity. The extinct mythical species. Your deception is amusing but futile. You have 1 minute to surrender before we open fire. Reyes sighed and closed the channel. Tactical. Analysis of enemy capabilities. Tactical Officer Diaz reported promptly. Their weapons are primarily directed energy, Captain. Shields rated at approximately 20% of our capacity. Their maneuverability is impressive, but they lack significant armor. Recommendations. A measured response, Commander, Diaz suggested. Minimal force projection to neutralize without destruction. Agreed. Let's not vaporize potential allies' neighbors on our first day back. Reyes straightened in her chair. Athena. Initialize Aegis defense grid. Tactical. Prepare point defense cannons. Communications. Alert our diplomatic guests that we'll be experiencing some turbulence. On the observation deck, the Concordat representatives watched in fascination and trepidation as the human warship prepared for battle. The massive vessel seemed to shudder as armored plates shifted, revealing weapon emplacements along its hull. Are they truly intending to fight 12 Vorlak raiders? Asked Sphere, its mechanical shell vibrating with concern. Even our military vessels would not engage such numbers without support. Texan's scales had paled to anxious white. The Vorlak are vicious fighters. I fear our new human friends may be overestimating their capabilities after such a long dormancy. The minute elapsed, and the Vorlak ships launched their attack. Brilliant beams of red energy lanced toward the Titan's hammer, illuminating the darkness of space. The diplomats braced for impact. The energy beams collided with an invisible barrier approximately 20 meters from the human vessel's hull, dissipating harmlessly in flashes of light that briefly outlined a shimmering energy shield. Incredible, whispered Gorvin. Their shield technology is unlike anything I've seen. Before the observers could fully process what they had witnessed, the Titan's hammer responded. Rather than the expected barrage of destruction, precise beams of blue-white light emerged from small ports along the hull, targeting the raiders' weapon systems with surgical accuracy. Within seconds, 4 Vorlak ships drifted powerless, their weapons disabled without catastrophic damage to the vessels themselves. The remaining raiders, seeing the effortless neutralization of their companions, attempted to scatter. The human vessel rotated with unexpected agility for its size, pursuing the fleeing ships not with weapons, but with a visible energy field that expanded outward, enveloping 3 more raiders. The captured ships suddenly went dark, as if all power had been instantly drained. Gravitational manipulation, observed Sphere with what sounded like awe in its synthesized voice. They're creating localized distortions to disable drive systems. The remaining 5 raiders, now clearly panicking, attempted a coordinated assault on a single point of the human vessel's shield. Their combined firepower created a spectacular display as energy cascaded across the barrier, but still failed to penetrate. The Titan's hammer's response was decisive. A single, larger weapon port opened along its forward section. A sphere of swirling energy formed, then launched toward the clustered raiders. Instead of exploding on impact, it expanded between them, creating a web of crackling energy that connected all 5 ships. In an instant, their systems went dark. The entire engagement had lasted less than 3 minutes. By the celestial waters, breathed Tixan, her scales now a bright yellow of amazement. They disabled 12 Vorlak raiders without destroying a single vessel, or taking any damage themselves, added Gorvin, his warrior's assessment evident in his tone. On the bridge, Commander Reyes received the report with satisfaction. All hostile vessels neutralized, Commander. Minimal power expenditure. No casualties on either side. Excellent work, Reyes acknowledged. Prepare boarding teams to secure the vessels and detain the crews. I want their navigation data. Let's find out where these Vorlak operate from. When Reyes rejoined the diplomats, she found them in a significantly more deferential mood than before the engagement. That was most impressive, Commander, High Arbiter Sela said, her feathered crest lowered in a gesture of respect. Your restraint was unexpected. Unnecessary loss of life is inefficient, Reyes replied simply. Even pirates may have information or skills of value. The Concordat High Council will want to discuss an alliance immediately, Texan stated, her scales now a deep blue of respect. Your technology could revolutionize our defense capabilities against threats beyond our borders. And what would humanity gain from such an alliance? Lieutenant Commander Jackson asked pointedly. Reyes raised a hand to temper her officer's bluntness. What my colleague means is that while we possess certain military advantages, we are few in number. The Titan's hammer carries just over 1,200 souls, scientists, soldiers, and civilians. We need a home, resources to repair our vessel, and information about this new galaxy we find ourselves in. The Concordat would be honored to provide all of that and more, Sela assured her. Perhaps we might even help locate other human arcs that may have survived. For the first time, genuine hope flickered across Reyes's face. That would be most appreciated. In the days that followed, the Titan's hammer was escorted to the Concordat Central Worlds with a mixture of celebration and caution. News of the legendary humans' return and their decisive handling of the Vorlak raiders spread throughout civilized space. Some welcomed the potential for new knowledge and protection. Others feared the disruption of the established order. Commander Reyes stood on the observation deck of her ship, watching as they approached Concordia Prime, the gleaming capital world of the Galactic Concordat. Captain Texan stood beside her, having voluntarily remained aboard as liaison. Your people have built something remarkable, Reyes observed, genuinely impressed by the sprawling, peaceful civilization before her. Different species working together, building rather than destroying. It wasn't always so, Texan admitted. The histories speak of terrible wars before the Concordat's founding. But we learned, eventually. Reyes nodded thoughtfully. Humanity learned similar lessons, though perhaps too late. Our final war was against extinction itself. She turned to face the Kellerian captain. We were warriors because we had to be, but we were explorers and builders first. Perhaps that's what we can offer your Concordat. Not just weapons, but the will to use them only when necessary. And perhaps what we can offer you is what humanity lost. Texan replied, her scales shifting to a warm gold of friendship. A galaxy where your children can grow up without fear of extinction. As the Titan's hammer approached its new beginning, its weapon ports closed, sealing behind armored plates like a warrior sheathing a sword. The last warship of humanity had found not just survivors, but a future, and in doing so, had perhaps rediscovered the best of what humanity had been. The legend had awakened, and the galaxy would never be the same.